Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another session of the San Marcos Public Library's Workforce Development Series. My name is Deborah Carter, and I'm here today with Lauren Cheney. We're going to be talking about leveling up your skills for employment from GED to a doctorate degree. And I'm really excited about the conversation today. I have a background in education in that I have a few degrees and I am an education nerd. I've also had a lot of conversations with people who are trying to figure out a different job and backtracking from that position to figure out what education they need and then the best way to get that particular license or certification or degree. Lauren, can you say a few things about yourself and your career in education?
Sure. Well, first off, I'm a PhD student at Texas State in the Adult Professional and Community Education program. My experience with education has primarily been in higher education. I did get my bachelor's in secondary, so 7th through 12th grade, but since I got my master's, I've been primarily in the college university setting. And I have previous experience as a writing center tutor at Texas State, as an academic coach. So someone who kind of helps prepare students on their academic journey. And then as of now, I am a doctoral research assistant. So a lot of fun research stuff. So that's pretty much it.
Super cool. I really appreciate you being here, Lauren, and sharing your time and your expertise, your wisdom.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So the idea for this particular show started when I was getting a lot of phone calls and emails from library patrons who, during the coronavirus, are pausing. They might be pausing consensually, they're stepping back, or they might have been laid off or something else. I'm just not having work right now. So a lot of people are figuring out what they want to do to level up in income and benefits. And so trying to figure out what kind of education they would need to go forward in that. And that's at every level. I have people who need to get their GED or some jobs training that's like a particular license or certification. And people who have some college but don't know how to go back or fear they wouldn't be allowed back. And people who have a master's degree that are thinking about if a PhD is right for them. So the whole spectrum of educational attainment is on people's minds right now. I'm going to screen share because I wanted to show some of the most, I think, crucial educational services for adult basic education in San Marcos is the Community Action Adult Education Department. So if you're in San Marcos, this is the program for you if you are wanting to get your high school equivalency or they also offer different kinds of trainings from time to time. They'll have HVAC training, Microsoft certification training, and those are free for the participants. HSE stands for high school equivalency, and I see that now instead of GED because GED is just one high school equivalency program of several. So it's no longer the monopoly on the high school equivalency. So I see that HSE, and that's what that stands for. Then Community Action also offers this integrated education and training, which is super great. And Lauren, you would be up the alley of this too. And Francesca Ramirez, who does this career pathways coordination, is super great. And they really, in this department, and Francesca helps people navigate into programs, especially providing that college readiness. So she'll spend months with people getting them ready to take those classes because it's a lot easier and cheaper and better to be prepared before you enroll and then do well rather than enrolling when you're not ready and figuring out, oh, this is a level of studying and writing that I'm struggling with, and then you have to back out and you may have already paid a lot of money. So This is the College Career Prep Academy, is this 12-week course. So that's a long time, and it is very comprehensive, and it is free to the participants. So it talks about remedial education, and I think that's a big thing in college, right?
Yeah.
Taking those, or what they call developmental math classes a lot of times, where I think that's what they say is like the highest number one reason people drop out of education programs is, they get stuck in those developmental or remedial courses, and then they're taking the same class over and over, the ones that they're bad at. They're already bad at math, and I've taken 4 classes, and 3 of them don't even count for credit. And
Yeah.
so it puts people in a bad situation.
Well, I
So
also know from experience, I'm bad at math. It's not my subject. I've accepted it. And I had to take some of the developmental courses when I was a freshman in college. And a lot of the times it can be really discouraging because not only is it a hard subject if you're taking the developmental course, but a lot of the times colleges, it's not credited. So you don't get credit for taking that class. So it's kind of just like not a waste of time because you're getting practice, but a class that doesn't count towards your degree, which can be discouraging too.
yeah, I do think that program here in Community Action, and that's for all of Hayes County, as well as other surrounding counties, can take advantage of the Community Action programs. So that's a really, I think, valuable class because
Yeah.
it's free. And then if you can avoid taking those developmental classes, you are saving thousands of dollars and a high likelihood of dropping out.
So
So
with I'm sorry, with the developmental courses that you said it was workforce solutions.
that I was talking about is with Community Action. Um,
Okay. So,
so go ahead.
so with community action, is it a number of different courses that someone can take, or is it just do they have very specific ones?
They have very specific ones, and they're from time to time.
Okay.
So Community Action, if you look at their website, they do have a nice website where they have their services: adult education, Head Start, home visiting, health services. It's a pretty huge organization in here in town. And in their adult education department, they have the GED classes, which I'm familiar with because they hold them there at the library. They are free. You register, and you you still have to pay for the GED test itself, which are those 4 subject area tests. But the prep classes themselves are free. Sometimes people ask, how long will it take me to get my high school equivalency or GED? And the answer is that it really depends on where you are, because you you may have just dropped out of high school, and all of that information is fresh in your mind. So you might be able to quickly pass those tests. But if you've been out of high school for a while, some amount of years, and you may have never liked it in the first place, so studying for those, you're studying for 4 years of school over 4 different subject areas, and it's not easy. I think most adults wouldn't be able to pass it if they're given it. It's a tough test, but studying for it is they'll give you a practice test at the beginning to figure out what you need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
You're just ready to go take it. And we do have at the library like scholarships for people to take the tests.
That's great. That's awesome.
So that is at one level. If of folks that are coming into the library or asking me over the email or chatting or phone calls that I get about getting their high school equivalency or some other kind of basic education service like that, and community action is definitely the way to go. So let me just share that screen one more time so they can see like the contact information for that. um, the telephone number, 512-392-1161. That is the number to call for San Marcos. And they're super nice people. I love them, and they're ready to help you figure out what your next step is.
That's great.
So let's, so moving on from adult basic education, a lot of folks have graduated from high school. They may have taken some college somewhere, but didn't graduate, or but are looking for a more specific technical degree to get to the next level. And I thought that I would share information about ACC, because I'm a big fan. ACC is Austin Community College, and unfortunately in San Marcos we are out of district, so we don't pay the cheaper price that you would pay if you lived in Austin, but it's still a lot cheaper than say a 4-year degree. And I love their website. They have these areas. So I just Googled Austin Community College, and then I clicked on this first tab, academic and career programs. And one thing I do like about Austin Community Colleges and all community colleges is open enrollment. So you don't have to take some kind of test or feel like you have to apply and that you may or may not get in. You can simply just enroll and pay for it, and then you're there. And they have so many online classes right now, which I know people are interested in because of the coronavirus, but also because we live in San Marcos and you don't necessarily want to commute. So look at all that. So the layout is real nice. So I'm going to click on health sciences just to choose a random one. Prepare for a career in caring. There is a nice video about it. And so here they have on one side credit programs. And so what that means is those will transfer to other colleges, or you could build those up over time for a degree. And they have all of these different programs. They also have something that I am in love with, is their continuing education programs, of which they have a huge amount. This is just in the health sciences. There's just so many. So let's go to dental assisting, just to choose a random one. Here they have, if you can see on this end, the tuition, the time commitment, and the certification you would get, and then the median salary of how many job openings there are right now. So this layout is super nice, right? I mean,
yeah,
your schedule. And so they have that for every program. I feel like their website is as good as they are in general, which is, I'm just a real big fan. The teachers are excellent. So yeah, here you have medical office support. There's the tuition, only 3 months. So yeah, I do love that ACC website. It's so easy to navigate, and you can find like a career, a goal. And so sometimes if you don't know what kind of goal you want, it's a nice one to just peruse and
because I know
careers.
because I know some programs, they make it very difficult to find out like the important things, like how many hours it's going to be, or like the tuition, things like that. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt within the website. So that's great. I think the way that they lay it out, it makes, because those are big deciding factors. So it makes it easier for people to decide, like, is this a good choice for me? So.
And I've been very lucky to have met some of the counselors at ACC, and they're career counselors. So you can call them and they will kind of guide you through talking about the different programs. And if you express interest in the continuing education, they will kind of guide you through all of the possibilities. So you're not alone there. You have an actual human being to talk to. I'm just a huge fan. I mean, I'm a huge fan of community college. Also, I have experience with Austin Community. San Antonio SAC, which is San Antonio Community Colleges, which is part of the Alamo Colleges. So if you live down there, they're also. I mean, it's extraordinary the quality of learning that happens through there. So, I think we need to get over the stigma of community colleges being in some way inferior because they're doing a real high quality job with specific industries and getting people high paying positions. And I think the quality of instruction is very high because a lot of times you get professors who are from that. They're not just academics who have studied it. They are from those careers and they can really navigate you to learn what you need to learn for being in that position.
Yeah. And typically community colleges are cheaper. And I know going back, if I had a time machine, I definitely would probably go to a community college first just because of the money aspect. And also, like you were talking about, the quality of education. Um, it's, you really can't beat it. And unfortunately, I do think there is stigma around it, but hopefully with time, I think people will start to kind of realize that it's a great option.
Yeah, I think when I was young, I was in from the era that if you got a college degree, then you would somehow be like successful. And so a lot of people like me took on a lot of debt and to attain this degree. But now we realize that the economy has shifted, and just because you have an expensive degree doesn't mean you'll get a job at all.
Yeah.
So you might be at the same job you were before your 4-year degree,
Mm-hmm.
and now just with debt. So I think that community colleges or those smaller schools that are specific for a career are are gaining in popularity, and there's definitely no stigma in having like a higher wage and benefits
Yeah.
and not as many student loans.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
There was one other thing that we talked about, Lauren, and that is the kind of other direction that people take when they're looking at these very specific jobs and the training that you need. I'm going to screen share again because I want to go over to a school that San Marcos has, which is a for-profit college. It's called Total Transformation Institute of Cosmetology. And this is that school that's next to Jason's Deli over there in that shopping center where Hastings used to be.
Yeah.
If you remember that.
Yeah. It
All
took
right.
me a second. I had to visualize it.
I love that Hastings. Anyway, this is there, and I have been there as a customer because you can go and get your hair or nails or massage because um, the the folks that are helping you are also students.
Mm.
Um, and they're learning kind of they have academic work that they do and then that practice that they can have, but I know that there are some issues with for-profit um, for-profit colleges. So I wanted to kind of peruse the website to see. um, Lauren, are you familiar with some of the criticism that for-profit colleges have?
Um, yes, not, I mean, it's not like my main area of research, but yeah, I am aware. I do think, and I was telling you before we started this today, that due to just the current climate of people losing jobs and people debating going back to school, I've been seeing a lot of commercials. I think I'm the only person who still pays for cable these days, but
I know I haven't seen a commercial in a
I
long
know,
time.
I get a lot of lip for it, but I like the commercials. Anyways, but yeah, I've seen a lot of commercials and it sounds great in theory, and I don't want to bash them too much because I do think for some people, depending on their goals, it can be good. But yeah, some of the cons or disadvantages are the price. They typically are a little more expensive. And that's just what I've seen. And because I always get interested when I see these commercials, I'm like, huh, like how much would it cost? Because they make it sound so inviting, and they have like the cool graphics and like the cool music. So yeah, typically they are a little more expensive.
I read this book that I recommend, and it's called Lower Ed by Tressie McMillan Cottom. We have it at the public library. She is a sociologist, but her whole career was as an admission officer for a series of for-profit colleges. And she talks about how, because for-profit colleges are businesses with shareholders, they need to make a product, profit, and the product they are selling is education. So for people enrolled in that program, they are studying hard and they are learning a lot. So it's not any kind of like diss to people who are enrolled in those programs. But from my point of view, and having read her stories about it, when people come in to take a tour, or when they call, they ask you to come take a tour, and then during the tour it's actually a sales pitch. So they are trained salespeople, and what they're trying to do is get you to take out student loans, and it is expensive, like you said. So they want you to take out your student loans, and that's how their shareholders make money, is really by, it's like funneling money from the banks to putting the loan on the student, and then they make the profit.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about like a business, I mean, for sure they're selling a high quality product,
Mm-hmm.
or they would go down.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's a very good school, but still their end result is not trying. The end result is making money.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about. I was looking, I'm going to kind of go back to that website because I wanted to find the place that showed, I'm clicking on admissions. How do I get started? So here's like a net price calculator. I'm going to click there. I don't know what I'm agreeing to. Financial aid. I'm going to click no. And then, I'm on keyboard. I'm going to pretend like I'm 20, which I'm not. And I'm saying I'm living on my own. And just to tell me how much. So it would cost me $20,000 to get that degree. It looks like the tuition is 16. Estimated room and board. I don't know how they think that I'm going to live for $1,000 for, and then books are quite expensive too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, even if it was 16, that's a pretty big price tag. Definitely worth it if you are going to have a whole career in this and everything. But I do know that most student loans, the the highest percent of student loans that are unpaid so far are from people who have enrolled in for-profit colleges like that and have not been able to pay them back, and they also did not even finish the program.
Interesting. I didn't
So
know that.
yeah, so there's a lot of people that start those programs that don't finish them, and then those credits don't transfer sometimes.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up. I think another issue that I see with for-profit colleges and universities is that a lot of the times, or not a lot, but sometimes the degrees or certificates aren't accepted everywhere. And I think that you can spend all this money or go into debt, and then you are applying for jobs, and what you got your degree in or your certificate doesn't really help you. So that can be difficult too. And this is just from my experience, like being an academic coach or being a writing tutor, like kind of helping with like the student support aspect. But I do think with for-profit universities or colleges, it's hard because you're kind of on your own a little bit. You don't really have access to a lot of resources. It's primarily all online. Typically, I do think there are times where like people go in person, but yeah, I think it can be really difficult, especially if you've been out of college and you're thinking about going back, or if, I mean, any transition into college or university it can be really overwhelming. So those are things to consider too.
Yeah. And if you, back to that ACC website, they had courses that were degree seeking. I'm going to go back and look at that together because I don't really remember how it was laid out, but they had, let's see, health sciences. So you pick your area of study. So let's like just go to business just to click a different one. They had, oh, here are the credit programs and continuing education programs. So the credit programs, a lot of them are the same. So let's click on, accounting for credit and see where that takes us. So it's going to be, let's see. I like these videos. If you have time to watch them, they're pretty nice. You have these different certification levels. So this is really getting a whole degree, which can take a couple of years. I mean, probably 2 years minimum. But then the continuing education, you have some of the same types of things that you would study. So here, occupational skills development, that's a whole, this is a different program called STEPS, which is for people who have disabilities or like need some kind of job readiness training. It's a really great program, and that is just kind of a different program. It's definitely worth learning about. So if that is you or someone you know, it's really good. So here I put logistics and supply chain management, and I know that that is a high, there's a lot of jobs right now, especially because of the coronavirus. The supply chain of things that, every commodity, right? Everything that we buy, from warehousing to transportation management, purchasing, inventory. This is a huge field. So here, the price and the hours, 80 hours, you get a certification. So when you compare the what you're seeing the commercials for, those online, for-profit, call now. If you're interested in that, if that TV commercial is intriguing you, you might want to go over to the ACC website and see if they have a similar program and save a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I'm sorry, Lauren, I know I'm talking a lot and I'm real excited about this topic. I wanted to also show a really amazing resource in San Marcos. Am I screen sharing right now?
No.
Okay. Let me go over to the Workforce Solutions Rural Capital Area website. If you register for Workforce Solutions, there is a wealth of resources that you can utilize. And they have a program. I wanted to first show these lattices because these are interesting. No matter where you are in your career, you can find ways to step up. So here they have a medical assistant. If you are a medical assistant, here's where you are, and you want to level up in your career to make more money and maybe have more job satisfaction. Here are the tier 1 industries you could go to: pharmacy technician, medical secretary. But here, a dental assistant is in blue because that is a job that is in high demand. So this is a target occupation. And we'll want to go back to what these target occupations are, because what that can mean is free job training to move up. If you're already a dental assistant, then you might want to go to tier 2. And then in blue, And surely if you want to be a healthcare social worker and that's your passion, go for that. That's just because they're in red doesn't mean that's not a suitable career. But if they are in blue and that is something that you're interested in, you might qualify for free training to get to that level. Or even if you don't do the free training, you can know that these are jobs that are high in demand. So you might want to, move your attention towards one of those. And these lattices, if I scroll down, they're in all of these different different industries.
That's great.
So,
And this is it specifically in Hayes County?
yes.
Okay.
So this is specific to our area, and there has been a lot of research that build this data. So it's updated, and it really takes a lot of work on their behalf to get all of this data to build these. But they do it, and they do a good job with that. So I was trying to just kind of click on one that might be interesting to us. I don't know. I'm just going to click on childcare worker to see what that lattice looks like. So here you're a childcare worker, you have a high school diploma, you make $23,000, you want to make more money. In here, might be discouraging because there are no tier 1 positions that are in high demand. Still, you might want to move up because you would still make, more money as a teacher assistant, a little bit more. But you know that you're in tier 1, so you're gearing up to go to tier 2. So it's just kind of a good way, or, if you have a desire to be, a social services manager making $70,000 and that's your career goal, it's also nice to look at these lattices from that point of view and then kind of go down and think, well, I'm qualified right now, to be a recreation worker, and so you might think about moving up, or you can find yourself in any level of these. I love them because it's so graphic. It's just displayed out there, and you don't often see that kind of flowchart that's geared specifically to our area.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these, regardless of whatever field you're in, I think these are questions that everyone kind of has. Like, if I want to move up, like, what should I do, or what are my options, things like that. And the information sometimes can be hard to get, and now it's easily accessible, which is awesome.
Yeah, I am very astounded by. So this is you can search for like Hayes County or San Marcos Workforce Solutions, and you'll get to their website. And this is under the Job Seeker tab. There are all of these different resources. And then one other thing. So here is the target demands. Lauren, can you see my cursor when I'm moving it like this?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So here's the occupations list. And then here are the upskill virtual career training workshops. So yeah, here are the target occupations. Oh, and that came to be an Excel sheet. So I need to change my screen sharing. I'm going to share again, but I'm going to share this list that came up. So these are lists that and these change all the time. So they're using current data to figure out what is needed in their local area. And so we need electricians. And if that's something you're interested in, you could contact Workforce Solutions, and they would be able to point you in the direction of training for that. And you might qualify for free training. So if that was training at ACC in one of those continuing education classes that we looked at, they're not classes, sometimes they're a series of courses, but you end up with this industry level certification. It's free, it's totally free. So you're moving up to a high demand, well-paying job. It's not free, that it takes some time. You might have to take time out of your current career, and definitely your family and other obligations. So it's difficult, even if it's free, to do that. But what a resource!
Yeah, I think that's amazing. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I think that, and that is really specifically where people are at right now. Who in San Marcos, most people work in customer service. We are a service town,
Mhm.
and the university is a place of employment, but it's also a place for a lot of those service jobs, or those students come into town, and then a lot of the service jobs are providing services for students. A lot of townies are standing on the other side of the counter than a student,
Yeah.
and that is something about our local economy. But with those kinds of lattices, you can really see, I think it's a hopeful thing to look at those lattices and
Yeah,
see where
for
your career
sure.
can
Yeah, yeah. I agree.
progress. So let's move on. So let's say you you have some class, or maybe you've never gone to undergrad, you've never gone to college, or maybe you've taken some classes, but that was a while back. Lauren, what advice would you have for somebody like that who's thinking about going back to 4-year college?
Ooh. There are a lot of things to consider. First and foremost, I would think about what you want to do, and kind of see, like, what is your end result? Like, what do you want to get out of going to school? I think that can be a deciding factor whether or not you go to a 4-year university or you go to a trade school or something like that, because I think you want to make sure you have a specific goal going into it. Because, like we were saying at the beginning with the developmental courses, I think a lot of times when people get into college right off the bat, and this is just from my experience, I think you take so many different courses. You're taking like math, English, biology, like all these fun things. And I think it can be really overwhelming, especially if you don't really know what you want to do. And so I suggest talking to career counselors. That's a good option, and just having a good goal before going into it. I also, and this sounds kind of,
I wish somebody had given me that advice before I went to college. It's just a cultural mind shift we have to make, because if you go into college with this nebulous idea that this is a path making time and money spent, the truth is it's not. You
Mhm.
can get dumped out on the other side of a 4-year degree as clueless as you were, but now saddled with so much debt, and it's hard to see the other side. When
Yeah.
you're here, it's hard to know, like, well, what will be the end? Where am I going to be? Who am I going to be? What are my options on that side? How would people, and I don't know the answer, maybe we can brainstorm. How do people figure out where they want to be on the other end of a 4-year degree?
That's tough. I don't know, because like in my experience, I was one of those kids, like I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. I had like the stuffed animals and was like teaching the stuffed animals, So I was really lucky that I knew what I wanted to do. But I mean, I've had a few friends who they took like what is it, like the career, they have all those career tests online and stuff like that. And like based on their personalities, and they did that. I don't know if I really suggest that just because it may not be the best, but I don't know. I think sitting down and maybe writing like a list of your skills or things that you like to do, or you can look at it from like a more financial aspect and think about like how much money do I want to make, like what careers can I choose to get me there. um I think you can tackle it from like a few angles.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any recommendations?
I think it's a question that doesn't have a lot of clear solutions, but yeah, just brainstorming, taking a piece of paper and write down, like you said, what you're good at, or if you have a job that you don't like, is there anything that you like about it? Like, do you like working with people, or is it that you like to like making change is kind of fun for you because you like numbers and math? Like, what are the attributes that you like, and then pinpoint that, and then what are the careers that you end up doing that a lot, because we're good at what we like, or we like what we're good at. Those end up being the two sides of the same coin. So
Yeah.
figuring out that you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're going for something you don't like or you're not good at, because especially if it's a degree program, you might end up dropping out because it's very rigorous, and you have to like it a little bit.
Yeah, and I think you bring up a good point, because I've seen this happen a lot in higher ed, like in college, especially with undergrads. They'll pick a program and be like, oh, I want to do this. And then they'll meet with their advisor and be upset with some of the courses that they have to take. And I mean, all that information is online. And I think one of the best, some of the best advice that a professor gave me when I was looking at grad programs was, look at the courses that you'll be taking and do you want to take those courses? Because I think it's really easy to look at a program and be like, oh, and kind of look at it from a very broad view and say like, oh yeah, like I'll be a teacher or I'll be an accountant, like whatever. But if you don't really look at the courses that you're taking, it can come as a shock a little bit, and you're like, oh gosh, like I don't want to do all this math or whatever subject. So that's something to keep in mind too.
Yeah, that is brilliant advice. And it's a good point about talking to a counselor. If you're thinking about going back to Texas State, or here's the situation that I run into in town, are folks that went to Texas State, like they're from Houston or Dallas. They went to Texas State for a few semesters, they dropped out, and now they're full-on townies in San Marcos. They've lived here for 10 years, whatever, and they're thinking about going back to school, but they already felt like kind of rejected or pushed out from Texas State. Here's something that I found was really nice. The counselors, academic counselors there, are super wonderful. And there is a button. So sometimes we're shy about talking with people. There's a button on the website to make an appointment, and you can make a digital appointment. You press that button, you put in your name and info, and then you'll get online. You'll make an appointment to get online with a career counselor, and they're going to pull up the classes that you took. And this is hard for people. It's like, like how people don't want to look at their debt, or like one of those, like, I want to look away because I was on academic probation and then I just never went back and I don't want to look at it. But look at it, you'll pull up the classes, and what I found is that people are surprised. They're like, you know what? I have 20 credits, or and those a lot of those credits will transfer to other schools too. So those are things you have for your life. They can't take those away. You have those credits. So they look at what credits you have, and they'll tell you, okay, well, if you want to finish this degree, here are the classes that you would need to take. And looking at that, in just black and white, it can really kind of take away some of those fears a lot. I think a lot of the fears are because you don't know and you're afraid to look, and you felt like rejected, or you have a bad taste in your mouth from what happened. And there's a lot of people in San Marcos, because we live in a college town.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in that boat.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, and I don't know, with people who don't do too well and they drop out or they just don't come back, I find that they're like, oh, I don't want to go back because I don't want to do that major, or I don't want to do that anymore. But what's funny is like what you were saying, well, it's not funny, but what's neat is when you go and meet with these career counselors, if you're like, hey, like I'm not, like I don't want to do this specific degree, they can see the classes that you took and apply it to whatever degree that you're interested in. And you might be further along than you think. So I do think it is worth talking to someone about, for sure.
That's what I found, that people are further along than they think. Sometimes if you were on probation and you never went back, you need to write a kind of like an essay about like what happened. And I have written those with people. So contact Deborah Carter at your public library, because I can help you to word those memos, the kind of a letter or essay about what happened. And a lot of times people are in a different place than they were. And going back to college as an adult, I mean, if you're 18, you're an adult, but you know what I mean. If you're going back to you have a family or a career, you're kind of further along. Maybe you're, you know, 30 or 40 or 50. That's what I mean by adult. If you're going back as an adult, it's a different experience, and it's better.
Yeah. I think when you are an adult and you go back to college, you just have more of a understanding or appreciation, in my opinion, of education. Because I think you do, like, you've lived, you've worked, you've experienced life, and you kind of know what you want, or like that's just what I've seen with a lot of adult learners that I've worked with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So when you're taking a class, you have a reason for taking the class. You're not just passively taking it because you have to, and you've been in school the last umpteenth years of your life. And, you know, now you're like, every dollar you pay for your education, you're getting your worth out of it because uh, you're asking questions, you're engaged, you know, why you want to know that information, you're curious about it. You're seeking that career out of, you know, your drive, your interest. I think going back to school as an adult is just excellent and totally the way to go. And I definitely recommend it, whether it's a ACC or a different kind of school or Texas State. I think it's a very fulfilling kind of thing. People are afraid of it, and I think it's worth giving a shot at. It can be a different experience than when you were a kid.
Yeah. And I know, like, if I'm being very honest, I've gone straight through with like my undergrad, master's, and PhD program. And I would say probably it wasn't until my master's where I really appreciated the courses that I was in, or like I just had more of an awareness. Because I think, like you were saying, when you're 18, you're like, oh, like I guess I'll go to school. Everyone's going to school. And then it's just, I don't know. I do think I find a lot of adult learners are scared to go back because they feel like, oh, I haven't studied in forever. Like I don't want to do that again. But I think it's really nice now because colleges and universities have great support systems and great just learning programs that can support you on your journey. And yeah, I think it's great.
We had touched upon in a previous conversation about the OWLS program, or, you know, for people who, are you able to screen share, and did you have that up? Um, so there's a program, I'll talk while you're looking.
Okay.
There is a program at Texas State for adults who are going into college or going back to college, where you can get credit for life experiences. So if you have been doing a job for a while and have this life experience, that can help you in your degree program. And so that's something to think about too. There are also programs for people who have some for people who have some my son's piano lessons are soon. Who have some college and they want to go back, there are specific counselors who will help you with that, to figure out what. So it's worth looking into the specific counselors like for that. And I think that program's called OWLS. Do you have it up, or do you know anything about that?
Yes, I do. Where is it? Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. No, I can.
Okay. So yeah, I just went to, you can type in OWLS Texas State, and it is the Department of Organization, Workforce, and Leadership Studies. And I just pulled up their mission, but basically it prepares students for workplace success. We accomplish this mission through an accelerated applied undergraduate degree completion program and graduate programs, including working with students who seek a non-traditional approach in completing a degree. In addition, we value discovery and understanding and accomplish this mission through research and service. So yeah, like you were saying, it really does cater to the non-traditional student or non-traditional learner, which happens to be adults for the most part of the time.
So yeah, college credit for heroes. I see a lot of like interesting things there that you can research if this is going to apply to you.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find, let's see here. So yeah, so right here it says here's some reasons why this may be the right program for you. We offer courses at convenient times and locations for the working adult. By using past courses and a work-life credit, you may be to complete your entire degree in San Marcos or the Round Rock campus, and you can individualize your degree, which is really cool. I don't know what qualifies as kind of like work-life credit, but that would be interesting to know, you know?
Yeah, this is, we'll find out more about this. And
Yeah.
Laura, can we make an appointment to talk more and do a next level talk about going into a master's program and a PhD program?
Mhm.
I know we've been on here for a long time, so we probably should cut this video.
Mhm.
But I do know that there are people who have a bachelor's degree and feel like they can't reach the next level until they have the specific master's degree.
Mhm.
And then there are people who are considering a PhD, but wow, and that's where I don't have experience with that, but I know it's a huge commitment, and sometimes the the life of a PhD student is a surprise. And the outcomes of having a PhD is
Mhm.
a surprise. So let's talk about that. And another thing we need to do is talk about paying for any of this.
Mhm. Mhm. The fun part. Yeah, no, I think that would be great. I think that's important information that I know I could have um, used a few years ago, you know? So for sure.
Yeah. So let's sign up for now. And Lauren, you are an asset to the city of San Marcos and the San Marcos Public Library and our entire community. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and make these videos. I enjoy it, and I think people get a lot out of it. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm happy. I love San Marcos. I've been here for 2 years, so I'm happy to help out where I can.
Cool. Well, I will see you next time when we do our higher ed post-secondary talk. I
So
think that'll be an interesting one too.
yeah, for sure.
Bye.
Bye.